This is a review compilation of SZA's SOS Deluxe, LANA. Cosmorog 2022 gives it a 7 out of 10 and says, "Would you still love me if I was a bug?" Bray gives it an 8.9 out of 10 and says, "The tracks on LANA had basic instrumentals yet offered guaranteed satisfaction on top of the melodic singing. No More Hiding was an awesome opening track and gave us an idea of what to expect throughout this journey. It felt like nature music with a mix of lo-fi. I've started to notice the pop rap genre as well as the implementation of skits. The ambiance still primarily takes over the tracks, which makes it a peaceful experience. Even the reverb adds to the experience rather than hiding the untrained vocals. I'm not saying her vocals are bad, by the way. A lot of untalented singers use excessive reverb to conceal the truth. For SZA, she has a reason to use it. Crybaby and Saturn are the best tracks on the album. If I had to crown one, it'd be Crybaby. That track will get somebody to cry. Not me though, I'm a robot with no emotions. I won't penalize the track though. No album/reissue will always be perfect, including any release I've given 100 to in the past and never had issues with the downsides. LANA may not be for everyone due to it being repetitive. Most tracks have similar vibes and atmospheres, such as the ambiance, the keyboards, the bass, and the relaxing summertime beats. Despite the setbacks for those specific groups of music lovers, I'm one of the people who enjoy the never-ending atmosphere. There will be changes here and there, but the primary sounds throughout LANA were the same. My setback, there were a few lyrics that were cringe or didn't fit the peaceful vibe. Some of the lyrics were aggressive, which was the opposite of the environment. Every track didn't completely hit me in the feels. Still, that won't take away from the fact that most of the tracks have that magic that fit for at least one person. Once we got to the tracks that were originally released on the album SOS, the lyrics started to set back for me, and the collaborations weren't making things better. Remember how I talked about how excessive reverb tries to hide subpar singing? That's what happened in a few tracks. And also had autotune in play. Also, yes, I've listened to SOS because of the Deluxe. Overall, LANA was a beautiful experience and should give me a preview of SZA's magic throughout her career as a first-time SZA reviewer. I've listened to her music before, but never rated it until now. She'll probably do the same in her latest album since I've now listened to it through this reissue. I've learned that half of the tracks on LANA came from SOS. LANA is a weird thing to do from a marketing perspective, but I'm nowhere on the level SZA is at, so I'm probably just talking The tracks that didn't make it to SOS could have worked better as an album alone, in my opinion. Silky Cocoon gave this a 10 out of 10 and says, "Deeply in love with this. Obsessed with Scorsese Baby Daddy and Crybaby. Just so lovely and sensible." Philip Iake gave it a 7.7 and says, "I guess it's not bad, but it's not great either. We've waited too long just to get some decent SZA performance and several memorable moments. Don't get me wrong, I like it. I really like it. However, I've had way higher expectations and slightly disappointed, to be fair." A music expert gives it a 5.5 and says, "Hot take incoming. I'm really not feeling this album. The production is average at best. Her vocals sound the same as always. Flows are boring. Lyrics are boring. And on top of that, Kendrick has a mid-verse. I can't remember much from this album, TBH. Only songs that I think I'll actually return to is Kitchen and Saturn. Other than that, I don't think I'll return to this album anytime soon." Robbie Wolf gave this a 7 out of 10 and says, "This project honestly feels like its own thing. Sonically, it's lush and more abstract compared to SOS, less focused on catchiness and more experimental. Some tracks clearly feel like throwaways, but SZA managed to elevate the majority of these demos with fresh energy. That said, the mixing is a bit inconsistent. At times, SZA feels pushed into the background, blending with the instrumentals. While this could be an artistic choice, it does make her vocals feel washed out occasionally, and dialing back the reverb might have helped. Despite its flaws, there are plenty of strong ideas and solid tracks here. While not every song is a standout, it's an enjoyable listen from start to finish. The autistic guy gives it a 7.5 and says, "Is SZA singing about the peak YouTuber Dan TDM on track 4? St. Louis singer-songwriter SZA has been popular for years now. With singles like Kill Bill and Good Days, she's been recognized as one of the best modern-day R&B artists. Most people, including myself, have been waiting for a new album until SZA announced her new reissue of new tracks earlier this year. After waiting and waiting, we finally got the reissue. The original album, SOS, had too many tracks, which made it overly lengthy. However, with 15 tracks and around 40 minutes of new material, this record doesn't have this issue. Just like on every SZA album, her singing is truly outstanding. Her voice is exceptional, making her stand out among other artists. The lyrics talk about relationships and self-doubt, which many people can relate to. I appreciated the lyrics because I could relate to them. Listening to this record made the album feel timeless. It sounded like it was from the 80s or 90s, yet still feels modern. Instrumentals create that feeling by blending synths, drums, and other instruments. There are tracks like Crybaby and Kitchen, where I find the music nearly perfect, as it makes me feel calm and nostalgic. I also adored the track 30 on 30 due to the Kendrick feature. My only question is, why is this considered a deluxe version of a 2-year-old album? It feels like a different album entirely, which makes SOS seem more bloated. Nevertheless, I found this to be a satisfactory release from SZA and believe she is still continuing to develop as an artist. Maddie gave this a 9.2 and says, "My goat is back. Wow, holy God, this album was beautiful. SZA never fails to surprise me, nor disappoint me. Hearing these songs, you can tell how tapped in she is with her spirituality, lyrically and sonically. The chord progressions on this one are otherworldly, to say the least. I love hearing the maturity in SZA's voice. You can audibly tell how far she's come since Control. And what a graceful growth that has been. SZA will always be such a comfort artist to me. Her music means the world to me. A wonderful collection of songs." Calvin gave this a 7.7 and says, "Finally, SZA got back in the studio and dropped the long-awaited deluxe album to her packed sophomore album, SOS. This deluxe turns an already 1 hour and 8-minute project into a 1 hour and 52-minute beast of a project. I don't really understand why SZA didn't just make this an album release instead of a deluxe, but it's her music career, so she can do whatever she wants, I guess. With 15 new tracks of brand new, laid-back alt R&B, I have to say it feels a little weird for this to be releasing in the midst of our harsh winter season, and not a more warm and flourishing time like spring or summer. I wasn't as won over by this deluxe as I was with SOS by any means, but I will always appreciate new music when we get it. Some of my favorite tracks here were Diamond Boy, BMF, and Kitchen. I wish this reissue flowed a lot better from track to track, but I guess that's why it isn't a whole new album. It is solid, but I would rather just listen to SOS than LANA any day." Hip Hop King rated this a 9.6 out of 10 and says, "When making an account on this site, I was hesitant to commentate, rate, and review R&B albums because I'm a big hip hop guy, but I do dabble frequently in other genres. R&B, however, is similar enough to a lot of hip hop, and the genres complement each other very well. When it comes to SZA, she is easily my favorite R&B artist of all time. SOS is one of the greatest R&B albums I've ever listened to, and Control is also a wonderful album experience. So I've been waiting patiently for her next album, LANA, for a little over a year now, and right after I got off work, it's finally here. It was 100% worth the wait. The production is a little more laid back than usual, and SZA's vocals are extremely reverbed to heaven and back. But its soundscape is raw, beautiful, and unique. It really is its own album experience in comparison to her previous two. It's a tad strange that it's tacked onto SOS as a deluxe, because this album is completely different from SOS. Every song here has a sick bass groove that SZA effortlessly talks her talk over. One thing is that I have always appreciated is her lyrical abilities. They honestly rival most rappers right now. Like Pusha T with Coke, SZA can effortlessly come up with fun and unique ways to talk about struggles with love and sex and finding her place in the world with those topics. I can feel every word, vibe, and melody she sings here. As well as SZA's incredible performance as always, we get one of the best features of the year casually existing here on 30 for 30 with Kendrick Lamar. Luther off of Kendrick's GNX has been on repeat for me and my wife in the living room because she is more of an R&B head than I am, so the moodier hip-hop she can get into. This is definitely one we'll be listening to as much as Luther. Kendrick and SZA are such a wonderful duo, as I believe they are one of the few musical duos who have yet to miss. Hitter after hitter, and 30 for 30 might be the best collaboration between the two yet. I really loved this album, and the low points on this album still contributed to the beautiful vibes present. No complaints. Favorite tracks? No More Hiding, What Do I Do, 30 for 30, Diamond Boy, BMF, Scorsese Baby Daddy, Love Me for Me, Chill Baby, Drive, Saturn. Least favorite? Kitchen. Crocy47 rates this a 6.4 out of 10 and says, SZA is back after her duo of stunning features on GNX, and her newest release is bland? Look, we know her vocals are great, but her songwriting and beat selection is starting to get stale for me. Many songs convey feelings of distrust and isolation, pushing away any kind of healthy recovery in favor of greed and pleasure. It's a mindset I don't personally want to adopt, and it's kind of difficult to ignore when most songs just kind of wander off into no man's land, instrumental-wise. 30 for 30 was also disappointing. Kendrick sounds flat and unmotivated, and SZA says chat 8 times. I can't unhear it. Saturn is by far the most colorful and beautiful song here, but with the already bloated SOS growing to 38 tracks, you can't help but wonder if she's pulling a Tortured Poets department with this release. Favorites? Saturn, My Turn, Diamond Boy. T-Jim Music gives this an 8.2 out of 10 and says, great. It's just great. She's back with the good work. This deluxe is full of chill vibes, beautiful instruments, great catchy writing, and her stunning voice. Really enjoyed this, and I'm excited to explore it further. But this advertising is so effing questionable. Why a 15-track extension 2 years after the album came out? Just, I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. Why didn't they make this a record on its own, like a sister album to SOS? Claver gave this an 8 out of 10 and says, first SZA experience. This is my first time listening to SZA, so please bear with me. Also, I'll only be talking about the LANA tracks. Doing a bit of background research, I think it's sort of poetic of her to name the album LANA. About the title, she said, it's called LANA, my name, but it's the first tattoo that I ever got when I was 13. It was $10 a letter and I only had 40, so that became my nickname for no reason. LANA is really just the B-side of SOS. I like to believe that's what she attempts to do in this album, create a new name out of a pre-existing one. This is cemented by her deciding to put her new songs as the first tracks as opposed to the last ones. The songs are less of an accompaniment of SOS than the reverse. SZA does a great job in the lineup she brought along. The sonic changes work well at making each track feel fresh and different. However, some of the songs felt to be lacking. In particular, I was a bit underwhelmed by Crybaby and Get Behind Me interlude. Crybaby in particular felt, for lack of a better term, boring, not because it's slow, but because it felt like my understanding of any typical SZA song. It didn't really stand out. Get Behind Me felt the same way. The airy voice intro felt lackluster and the vocals felt typical to pretty much any SZA song I've heard before. The lyrics also felt like they lacked any substance. But there were some hints that stood out. Scorsese Baby Daddy, for instance, 5 out of 5. The low-pitched guitar mixed with the heavy bass gives the song the edgy sound, which makes it stand out. The lyrics add on to this nuance by talking of a dysfunctional relationship of a self-destructive narrator yearning for an immeasurable love. Another standout was Kitchen, emulating late 90s, early 2000s reminiscent R&B love songs, while pulling from the Isley Brothers' Voyage to Atlantis. SZA perfectly captures the duality of a relationship both attractive and repellent. To label the song a love song, or to label it something different, would completely overlook the intricacies SZA integrated into the song. Truly a major standout in this album. Psyche Halo gave this an 8 out of 10 and says, Ballad of the Situationship. Not to rip on the easy target of this site's base, but do you know what it's really like to be stuck in a miserable situationship with an extremely beautiful person and everything right and ugly going on at the same time about it? It's somewhere between the feeling of insufferability seen throughout this website and whatever the heavenly hell SZA did to make her vocal harmony sound like that on Another Life. Whatever that chorus is exactly what the feeling of a situationship is. Simple, beautiful, agonizing, sickening, alluring, confusing, brokenly hopeful. And now for a critic review. Rolling Stone gives this an 8 out of 10 and says, SZA knows how to make an entrance. She had the world fiending so hard for her new LANA. First she announced the album drop for Friday at midnight, then kept everyone chewing our fingernails while she took an extra 15 hours to give it the right finishing touches. But it was worth it. LANA arrives just in time to tie a bow around the music year, just like her epochal blockbuster SOS did 2 Decembers ago. It's officially part of the Deluxe Edition reissue of SOS, but it stands on its own with 15 tracks in 46 minutes. These songs don't feel like bonus tracks or addenda to any previous statement. They're a great album in themselves. LANA is SZA in moody late-night R&B electro ballad mode, her sonic imagination and emotional ferocity as vivid as ever. The only previously released tune is Saturn from back in February. The production is sparse, lots of deep soul guitar, chill-out synths, laid-back beats, plus a monster Kendrick Lamar feature. The songwriting reveals Solana Rowe at her most plain-spoken and blunt. She spends these songs confessing her weaknesses, fighting to forgive people who won't even notice the effort, yearning for emotional resolutions that she still can't reach. Some tracks on SOS are outtakes, some are new. The album was in flux right down to the wire, and for double-digit hours after the wire. Even the album title reflects an artist who's in the middle of changing her identity. It's a nickname she's had since childhood. She got LANA as her first tattoo when she was 13, because the price was $10 a letter and she only had 40. Now I gotta be called something else, SZA told Rolling Stone, after revealing that SOS's title came from her nickname, Sauce. So, now I'm going by LANA, but that might be burnt too. SZA makes LANA flow like a journal of emotional reawakening. She's taking stock of where she is and who she is now, after the massive global success and acclaim of SOS. It opens with No More Hiding, over flute-like synths and acoustic guitar. Cut myself open to see what I'm made of, she sings. I guess I'm guilty of giving fake love. I'm so fake. It's intense to hear her plead, I want to be in love for real. She gets help from some of her trustiest producers, including Thank God for Cody, Michael Uzawuru, Carter Lang, Rob Bizel, Benny Bianco, Tyler Johnson, and more. The Lil Yachty co-production Chill Baby is another tune where she struggles to quit hiding after wasting too much of her life building protective walls. Hard to find the urge to build that wall, yet still wary of trusting anyone. Tired of watching people die, literal or figurative, SZA sings. I just want someone to stay around. What Did I is a top-notch heartache ballad. With one of her narrative twists, her man accidentally butt dials her in the middle of having with someone else. She's furious yet vulnerable, raging. Even though you with that now, I get emotional. It's hard to shut it off. This could be a Kill Bill looking for a place to happen. She sings over chill, smooth jazz chords that echo Lil' Kim's 90s classic Crush on You, originally sampled from the Jeff Lorber Fusion's Rain Dance, a clever juxtaposition of the Queen Bee's top-of-the-world bravado with SZA's wounded fragility. Scorsese Baby Daddy is another standout, full of steamy 80s-style cheese rock guitar. I rolled up all my problems, SZA admits, and then I smoked about it. I could have called my mom up. I'd rather about it. She might yearn for a solid connection, but she's hooked on the kind of tension and turmoil seen in a gangster movie. She's addicted to the drama, Scorsese Baby Daddy. The image is brilliant since the Martin Scorsese filmography is loaded with unstable men who are decidedly not soulmate material. Even if it's hot when Ray Liotta gives Lorraine Bracco that gun to hide in Goodfellas. But it's a song where love gets twisted up in bad moods and downward spirals. That was a review compilation of SZA's SOS Deluxe, LANA. Thanks for listening.